This first one takes us to Patalpani Waterfall near Indore, India, where a family celebration turned into one of the most terrifying flash flood videos ever captured. In July 2011, 5 members of the same family visited the waterfall during what was supposed to be a happy outing. According to reports, they had gathered near the water after celebrating the MBA graduation of the oldest daughter, unaware that heavy rainfall upstream had already created a dangerous surge moving toward them. At first, nothing about the scene looks immediately deadly. The family is standing together near the rocks as water flows around them, while people nearby watch from a distance. But what makes flash floods so dangerous is that the threat often begins far away, in places the victims cannot see, and by the time the water reaches them, there may be almost no time left to escape. Within moments, the water level began to rise, and the calm stream around the family started turning into a powerful current. People on the shore began shouting, but the family was already trapped in the middle, with rushing water cutting off the path back to safety. As the current grew stronger, the 5 family members tried to hold on to each other and stay balanced against the force of the water. For a few seconds, it seemed like they might still have a chance if they could move together, but the flood was building faster than they could react. What made the footage even more disturbing is how helpless the entire scene became. The people filming and watching could see the danger unfolding in front of them, but they had no safe way to reach the family without being swept away themselves. All they could do was shout, point, and watch as the water continued rising around them. Then, the current became too strong. The family lost their footing and were pulled into the flood.
ओ भैया नीचे जाओ ना, नीचे नहीं जा सकते। जी जी जल्दी होते हैं, जल्दी से बात कराइए। आपके साथ वाले इसको फोन कर। हाँ मैं महू से ही बोल रहा हूँ, पागलपानी स्पॉट से बोल रहा हूँ मैं। हाँ जिला इंदौर तहसील महू। वो पेड़ पे बैठ जा। महू में पागलपानी स्पॉट, यहाँ पे एक्सीडेंट हो गया, 5 लोग अभी यहाँ गिर जाएंगे फॉल में। तो बोलो पेड़ पकड़ के वहाँ पे निकल गया यार, कहाँ गए?
In only seconds, what had started as a family celebration turned into a desperate fight for survival, as the water dragged them toward the waterfall in front of horrified witnesses. 2 of them eventually managed to survive, but 3 members of the family drowned. The victims were later identified in local reports as members of the same family, including the father and 2 young women. Rescue teams recovered the bodies in the days that followed, while the video of their final moments spread across the internet as a chilling reminder of how quickly nature can turn deadly. What makes this case so haunting is that, at first, there was no obvious warning in the footage. There was no storm directly above them, no dramatic wave visible from the beginning, and no clear moment where they seemed to understand how little time they had left. They had been standing in a place that looked beautiful, surrounded by people, during what should have been a family memory worth celebrating. But upstream, the water was already coming. By the time everyone realized what was happening, the family was trapped. The current had become too strong, and their final moments had already begun. From a moment no one could stop, we now move to a case where one decision changed everything. And that takes us to Stockton, California, where a woman calls police after hearing screams coming from a nearby home on La Cresta Way. At first, it sounded like a domestic disturbance, the kind of call officers respond to every day. But this time, the person walking up to the door had no idea he was about to step into the final moments of his life.
Yeah, I think the people across the street need some help. Like medical help or the police? Like they're screaming, yelling, the windows are shaking. I think the man is going crazy over there. He's been acting really strange the last couple days.
Responding to the scene is Officer Jimmy In, a 30-year-old father of 3 who had served with the Stockton Police Department since 2015. At 10:07 a.m., he arrives at the address and approaches the front door, expecting to make contact with the people inside. But as soon as the door opens, the situation turns violent without warning.
Please.
Hey, police.
Hello.
His colleague, Officer Pancho Freire, is caught completely off guard as sudden gunfire erupts from inside the home. In seconds, Jimmy is down, and Freire is left trying to process where the shots came from, whether the suspect is still armed, and if his partner is still alive.
58 shots fired, shots fired. Partner's down. Jimmy, you all right? 58 shots fired, my partner is down. Code 3 now. Jimmy? Jimmy, stay with me!
But the confrontation does not end there. Moments later, the suspect appears again, this time holding his own 8-year-old son in front of him and using the child as a shield while moving toward Officer Freire. With Jimmy already down nearby, Freire is now facing a situation where one wrong move could cost another innocent life.
Don't do it! Let the kid go! Don't do it! I want you to let the kid go, man. I don't want to kill you. I don't want to kill you. Don't let the kid go, man. 50, I need units code 3. He's strangling the kid and my partner is down. Let the kid go! Let him go! Let him go! Let go of the kid!
Then, just before the suspect can close the distance, movement appears from the side. A neighbor suddenly charges in, tackles the suspect, and manages to pull the child away from him. In one of the most shocking moments of the footage, an ordinary bystander risks his own life and does what no one expected, ending the standoff in an instant. With the child no longer in the line of fire, Officer Freire opens fire, and Lance Lowe is shot and killed at the scene. The immediate threat is over, but nothing about what happened can be undone. Officer Jimmy In was rushed to the hospital, where he was later pronounced dead, leaving behind a wife, children, and a department shaken by the loss. For the 8-year-old boy, the trauma would be impossible to understand. In just a few minutes, he had watched his father kill a police officer, use him as a shield, and then die in front of him. What began as a call about screaming from a nearby home had turned into a deadly confrontation that left a family shattered, a child scarred, and an officer's final moments captured on camera. But as heartbreaking as that case was, the next one takes the same idea of final moments in a completely different direction. And that takes us to Cuba, Venezuela, where one of the country's most disturbing hostage situations unfolded in front of live television cameras. It happened on April 5, 1998, after 18-year-old Hector Duarte Bahamonte attempted to rob a bakery. But when police arrived and the robbery began to fall apart, Duarte was wounded and fled into a nearby residential building, where the situation quickly escalated far beyond a failed robbery. Inside the building, he came across 44-year-old Nancy Lopez and her family, and within minutes, what started as a robbery had turned into a hostage crisis that would hold an entire country in suspense. For hours, police tried to negotiate with Duarte as he stood outside with a revolver pressed against Nancy's head. He was bleeding from his injuries, surrounded by officers, and becoming more desperate as every attempt to calm him down seemed to fail. According to reports, Duarte had already shot other hostages before bringing Nancy outside, which meant officers were no longer dealing with someone who might simply be talked into surrendering. They were dealing with a wounded, unstable suspect who had already shown he was willing to harm the people around him. As negotiators continued speaking with him, Duarte demanded a way out and said he wanted to leave for Caracas. But the more they tried to reason with him, the clearer it became that he was running out of options and had no real plan beyond keeping Nancy between himself and the police. At one point, he made the threat that turned the entire standoff into a race against time. If police killed him, he said he would kill the woman too. That threat left officers with almost no margin for error. The gun was still pointed at her head, and any wrong movement from police, Duarte, or even Nancy herself could have ended with a hostage being killed on live television. Behind the scenes, marksmen had already moved into position while negotiators tried to keep Duarte focused and talking. But as the minutes passed and he continued refusing to surrender, officers were forced to accept that the only way to save Nancy might be to take a shot with almost no room for hesitation. Their goal was not to end the standoff dramatically. Their goal was to get Nancy out alive. Then, when the moment finally came, a police sniper fired one single round.
The man says he will not be taken alive. Chaos ensues as the police descend on the scene.
Sí, y continuamos en Cuba. Hace pocos momentos actuó la Brigada de Acciones Especiales. Iván, ¿qué fue lo que pasó?
Un solo disparo, ya está listo.
Un éxito la situación.
Un solo disparo, ya está listo, la ambulancia para trasladarlo. Está bien, se acabó. Sí, pero no me toques violento, estoy trabajando.
Duarte was hit instantly, and officers rushed in as Nancy was pulled away from the scene alive.
En esta ambulancia proceden a llevar a la señora que estaba como rehén. Afortunadamente está bien, ella quedó ilesa. Y también proceden en estos momentos a llevarse al hombre, a Héctor, quien mantuvo secuestrado a esta mujer. El tiro fue en la cabeza. Vamos a conversar con el comisario Pablo Guzmán, jefe.
Nancy survived the ordeal, shaken but alive, and the other wounded hostages were also taken for medical treatment. But for Hector Duarte, the crisis ended right there in front of the cameras. After hours of panic, negotiation, and failed attempts to find a peaceful way out. What makes this footage so disturbing is how public his final moments were. This was not a hidden crime scene or a body cam clip released years later. It was a hostage situation unfolding in real time, with police, reporters, bystanders, and viewers all watching as one decision had to be made in a fraction of a second. A failed robbery had turned into a national spectacle, and by the time it was over, one woman had survived by inches, while the man holding her hostage had taken his final breath on live television. And that brings us to this next case. In Merced County, California, where a late-night drive between three teenagers turned into one of the most disturbing live streams ever recorded. On July 21st, 2017, 18-year-old Obdulia Sanchez was driving with two teenage girls in the back seat, including her 14-year-old sister, Jacqueline Sanchez. What should have been an ordinary ride through a rural stretch near Los Banos became increasingly dangerous as Obdulia live-streamed herself behind the wheel on Instagram. As the livestream continued, Obdulia appeared distracted by the phone while driving, and according to investigators, she was also under the influence. In the back seat, Jacqueline and another teenage girl were not wearing seatbelts, which meant that when the car began drifting out of control, they had almost no protection from what was about to happen. Within moments, the vehicle veered off the road, crashed through a barbed wire fence, and overturned into a field. The impact threw both girls from the back seat, leaving one badly injured and Jacqueline fatally hurt at the scene. But what made this case so disturbing was not only the crash itself, it was what happened after. Instead of the live stream ending, the phone kept recording as Obdulia got out of the wrecked vehicle and walked toward her sister. The video captured the immediate aftermath of the crash, with Obdulia speaking into the live stream while standing near Jacqueline, realizing that the accident had changed everything in a matter of seconds.
With my sister, okay? I know I'm going to jail for life, alright? I understand that. This is the last thing I wanted to happen, okay? Alright? I don't care though, I'ma hold it down.
This was not footage discovered later by investigators, and it was not a security camera clip silently recording from a distance. It was a live broadcast, watched and saved by people online, as a teenage girl's final moments became part of a video her own sister had been filming. Family members later said Jacqueline had been preparing to celebrate her quinceañera that weekend, a milestone birthday that was supposed to mark the beginning of a new chapter in her life. Instead, the celebration never happened, and the video that spread across the internet became the last memory many people would associate with her name. Obdulia was arrested and later sentenced for gross vehicular manslaughter, DUI, and child endangerment. But no sentence could undo the moment that had already been broadcast to the world.
I didn't even know I looked like a monster. Like, I looked like a freaking horrible monster. That was not my intention at all.
What makes this case so haunting is how modern and preventable it feels. There was no chase, no attack, and no stranger waiting in the dark. It was a phone, a car, a few reckless decisions, and a live stream that should have ended long before the crash ever happened.
Like, I knew she was dead. Because I took her pulse and she had no pulse.
Why not put the phone down and call for help for your sister?
I did call for help. I called the cops twice.
For Jacqueline Sanchez, the ride ended just days before what should have been one of the happiest moments of her young life. And for everyone who saw the footage, the case became a disturbing reminder that sometimes a person's final moments are not captured by accident, but by someone who was still recording when they should have been watching the road. But as disturbing as that footage was, the next moment becomes even harder to watch once you realize how normal everything looked at first.
Nothing in here? No, this is my smoke. Okay.
On December 27, 2014, in Flagstaff, Arizona, Officer Tyler Stewart responded to a follow-up call involving a domestic violence report. The man he was looking for was 28-year-old Robert Smith, and when Stewart found him, the encounter did not immediately appear violent. Smith spoke calmly, answered questions, and for a short time, it seemed like the situation might remain under control. But hidden inside his pocket was something Stewart had not yet seen.
It's over here. What's that?
Hi.
We talk outside?
We just talked on the phone. Dude.
We did. How you doing?
Good.
You talk outside?
Officer Stewart asks Smith if they can step outside to talk, and Smith agrees, but first says he needs to grab his coat. Stewart allows him to do so, and when Smith returns, the conversation continues like nothing has changed. But from that moment on, the danger is already there, concealed inside Smith's pocket as Stewart calmly tries to understand what happened.
Alright, I'll follow you. Alright. Don't have any weapons in your pockets or anything like that? Okay. Okay. So the dog was around when this all happened?
Yeah, freaking out.
Okay. Did the dog knock anything over or break anything that you know?
Not that I know of. And then all my stuff I threw into bags, and then I went down. There's two sets of stairs in the apartment. I went down one. That was one on the other side.
Okay.
For her. And then in the meantime, I mean, I could hear Bessie, the dog named Bessie, barking like crazy, you know?
Okay.
Because she's not supposed to bark because the apartment complex is like a quiet complex, you know?
Yeah.
And, yeah. But the whole curtain thing.
You're talking about the blinds in her bedroom?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, those are from my old apartment, and not that it matters, but I put a man in the drywall. I didn't have a drywall sink. I put screws in it. It's crooked. It was too low, and it turned into a fiasco. That's kind of the wedge, you know.
Okay.
Like,
You mind if I just pat down your pockets real quick? You don't have anything in here?
no.
Okay. Nothing in here?
No, my smoke.
Okay.
Smith continued talking, explaining the argument, the apartment, the dog, the blinds, and every small detail that made the encounter feel strangely routine. Officer Stewart listened patiently, giving him space to speak, until he noticed Smith's pockets and asked if he could quickly pat him down. Smith told him there is nothing there, then claimed the object in his pocket is just his smoke. But as Stewart reached toward the pocket, Smith suddenly pulled out a .22 caliber revolver and opened fire. Stewart was hit multiple times before Smith took the officer's service weapon and used it against him. After killing Officer Stewart, Smith turned the gun on himself. Officer Tyler Stewart was only 24 years old and had been with the Flagstaff Police Department for less than a year. What makes this footage so disturbing is how normal it feels until the very end. There is no chase, no screaming, and no obvious warning. Just a calm conversation between an officer and a suspect until one hidden gun turns it into Tyler Stewart's final moments alive. And that takes us to the early hours of June 4th, 2025. When Maryland Transportation Authority police officer Jamal Cofield was driving north on I-95 in Baltimore and came across an Infiniti sedan occupied by two young men from Hyattsville, Maryland. It was around 2:18 in the morning, and at first, the encounter looked like it might become a routine traffic stop. But when the Infiniti took exit 55 toward Key Highway and Officer Cofield continued behind it, the driver did not pull over. Instead, the car turned onto East McComas Street and suddenly accelerated, turning a simple stop into a dangerous pursuit within seconds. As the sedan picked up speed beneath the interstate, there was almost no time for the situation to slow down. The road, the darkness, and the concrete structure around them left very little room for error, and moments later, the driver lost control.
Disregard vehicle flattened, it just crashed. Lord.
C45, 16, where are you?
Gonna be there's a tunnel. And there's a tunnel. More. You're coming 95 southbound. It's gonna be exit 55 going straight, not taking that right. Lord. Tough one. Vehicle's totaled. Going to check on the operator.
The Infiniti struck a guardrail and a curb, sending the vehicle airborne before it slammed into a support pillar underneath I-95. After relaying more details to dispatch, Officer Cofield arrives at the wreckage and immediately begins searching for the people inside. But the impact has left the car almost unrecognizable, with debris scattered across the scene and smoke rising from what remains of the vehicle. What makes this moment so heavy is how quickly the tone changes. Only moments earlier, this was a car refusing to stop. Now, it is a rescue attempt. Officer Cofield moves around the destroyed Infiniti, trying to locate the driver and passenger while asking for help over the radio. In the darkness under the interstate, the scene is chaotic and difficult to process, and every second matters because there is still a chance that someone inside could be alive. But the condition of the vehicle makes that hope harder to hold on to.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
C45 dispatch. Entering 401 right now. Being around some.
16 dispatch, can you start medics? It's going to be 2 individuals ejected from vehicle. Sir! 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 Sir!
Hello?
Sir!
C46, start the VRP so we get our shut down the roadway.
Sir!
This way, this way.
I'm number 46 today.
Sir!
Both occupants are eventually found, but there are no clear signs of life. As more officers arrive, the focus shifts from securing the crash scene to trying anything that might still save them. One of the victims is pulled from the wreckage, and officers begin CPR while waiting for medics to arrive. The moment is desperate and quiet in a way that feels very different from the pursuit itself. There is no more running, no more engine noise, and no more chance to undo the decision that led them there. All that is left is a group of officers trying to bring someone back on the side of the road beneath the same interstate the car had just come from.
Here, roll over.
Roll him over?
Yeah, start slipping over. Yeah, start CPR.
Did you want to start there, you?
Oh, thank you.
Switch. Yeah.
Medics later pronounced both men dead at the scene. The driver was identified as 20-year-old Gabriel Omar Castillo, and the passenger was identified as 22-year-old Ezequiel Eduardo Garcia Chicas. Both were from Hyattsville, Maryland, and both lost their lives within moments of the Infiniti leaving the road. What makes this case so disturbing is not just the crash itself, but how fast an ordinary traffic stop turned into 2 final moments. There was no long standoff and no dramatic warning that the night was about to end this way. Just a car that would not stop, a few seconds of acceleration, and a concrete pillar waiting beneath the highway. By the time Officer Cofield reached the wreckage, the pursuit was already over. And for Gabriel Castillo and Ezequiel Garcia Chicas, there was nothing anyone could do to bring those final seconds back. And from there, we moved to another traffic stop, but this one would leave behind questions that lasted long after the footage ended. On September 14th, 2022, just after 1 a.m., Rusk County Deputy Shane Iverson pulled over a vehicle in East Texas after he said the driver had run a stop sign. Behind the wheel was 29-year-old Timothy Michael Randall, who had been driving through the area late at night when the stop began. At first, the encounter seemed tense but controlled. Randall denied running the stop sign, while Iverson continued asking questions and giving instructions. But neither of them knew that within minutes, a traffic stop over a minor violation would turn into Timothy Randall's final moments.
Good evening.
How you doing, sir?
Good. I'm Sergeant Iverson of the Rusk County Sheriff's Office.
Yes, sir.
The reason I pulled you over is you blew that stop sign back there.
No, I didn't. I came to a complete stop with that stop sign.
All right.
I mean, I did. I came to a stop.
No, you didn't. So.
What do you mean? I mean, what do you mean?
You step out of the vehicle for me.
Okay.
As Randall tries to explain himself, Deputy Iverson asks him to step out and begins searching him. Randall keeps questioning why he is being arrested, while Iverson focuses on what he believes Randall may have hidden near his waistband. The situation becomes increasingly physical as the deputy tries to control Randall's hands and search the front of his pants. Randall appears confused and scared, repeatedly trying to understand what is happening, but the tension keeps rising with every movement. In that moment, the entire encounter is balanced on fear, suspicion, and a few seconds of misunderstanding.
All right, put your hands right there real quick. You got anything on you? You shouldn't keep your hands out of your pocket.
I wasn't.
Behind your back.
I don't have anything on me, officer.
Hand behind your back.
Officer, I don't have anything on me.
Behind your back.
Officer, why are you? What? Can you just tell me, officer? Please, can you tell me what I'm under arrest for? Please.
Oh, please.
Get out.
Randall pulls away and starts running, while Iverson, still on the ground or recovering from the struggle, draws his weapon and fires once. The shot hits Randall as he tries to flee, and he manages to run only a short distance before collapsing. The suddenness of it is what makes the footage so unsettling. One moment, Randall is being searched beside his car. The next, he is running across the road after being shot, with the deputy immediately calling over the radio for backup and medical assistance. But by then, the damage has already been done.
Dude, you okay? .517 County. Hey, I need an ambulance. Call everybody. I've got a shooting.
Authorities later identified the man as 29-year-old Timothy Michael Randall, who died at the scene after being shot by Deputy Iverson. According to officials and attorneys for the county, Iverson believed Randall was reaching towards something hidden in the front of his pants and feared it could be a small firearm. But it was later determined that the item was not a gun. It was a pipe contained inside an eyeglasses case. A grand jury did not indict Iverson, and he was not criminally charged in connection with the shooting. But Randall's family later filed a federal lawsuit, alleging wrongful death and civil rights violations. In 2025, a federal judge allowed the civil case to move forward by denying qualified immunity, meaning the legal fight over what happened that night was not over. What makes this case so disturbing is how small the beginning was compared to the ending. A traffic stop, a disputed stop sign, a search, a struggle, and then one shot that turned a late-night encounter into Timothy Randall's final moments. For his family, the questions did not end when the dashcam footage stopped. They continued in court, where the argument became not only about what Deputy Iverson believed in that split second, but whether Timothy Randall ever truly posed the kind of threat that justified him dying on the side of the road. But this final case is even more haunting because it began as a call to make sure someone was safe and ended with an officer dying inside the very home he entered to help. It's May 11th, 2023, in the small community of Bourget, Ontario, when dispatchers receive a disturbing call from a woman worried about the house next door. She reports loud music, screaming, and what she believes may have been a gunshot, raising the fear that her neighbor might have hurt himself inside the home. The man inside is 39-year-old Alain Bellefeuille, a drywall contractor with no major warning signs that would immediately suggest a deadly confrontation was about to unfold. As far as police know, this is not an armed standoff, and it is not a call coming from Bellefeuille himself. It is treated as a wellness check, the kind of call where officers arrive not to make an arrest, but to make sure someone is still alive. 3 Ontario provincial police officers respond to the property in the early hours of the morning. Among them is Sergeant Eric Muller, a 42-year-old father of 2 and a veteran officer who had spent more than 2 decades with the OPP. For him and the other officers, the goal is simple: check the home, find Bellefeuille, and make sure no one inside is injured. They begin assessing the scene carefully, moving around the property with flashlights as they try to understand what they are walking into.
I just cover the front door. Just going to do a perimeter check first.
The scene is quieter than expected. After a 2 a.m. call involving screams, loud music, and a possible gunshot, officers may have expected some obvious sign of chaos when they arrived. But instead, the property appears still, with no one coming to the door and no clear indication of whether the person inside is hurt, hiding, asleep, or waiting. That uncertainty is what makes the next few minutes so dangerous. The officers are trying to approach the home carefully, but they are also working with almost no information. They do not know if Bellefeuille is injured, if there is anyone else inside, or if the sound reported by the neighbor was even a gunshot at all. After finding the back door locked and seeing no movement inside, the officers double back toward the front of the house. There is still no response from Bellefeuille, and with every unanswered call, the situation becomes harder to read. From the outside, they have no way of knowing whether this is a false alarm or a medical emergency unfolding behind the walls. All they know is that someone called because they feared something had gone seriously wrong, and if a person inside the home is wounded, unconscious, or in danger, waiting too long could cost them their life. So the officers return to the front of the house, preparing to make contact the only way they believe is left. At that same moment, Bellefeuille would later claim he had woken up to lights and voices around his home and did not recognize them as police. According to his version, he believed intruders were inside or near the house, and in that confusion, he reached for a semi-automatic rifle kept in his bedroom. But from the officer's perspective, there is no warning that a rifle is already pointed in their direction. They are only seconds into the entry when Bellefeuille opens fire through the bedroom wall. He fires 9 rounds in rapid succession. Sergeant Eric Muller is hit almost immediately and collapses inside the mudroom, while Constable Mark Lauzon is also struck, with his body armor stopping the round. Outside, Constable Francois Gamache-Asselin is wounded as well, hit either directly or by a ricochet while taking cover near a cruiser. The entire ambush unfolds in seconds, and when the footage resumes, Sergeant Muller is on the floor, motionless, while the situation around him is still far from over.
Motherfucker, such a dick. Fuck with an old motherfucker. Should have never broken my house. Sorry about that.
Outside the house, the surviving officers are still trying to understand what just happened. One officer is down inside, 2 others have been hit, and no one has a clear view of where Belfoy is or whether he is preparing to surrender, retreat, or fire again. The confusion is terrifying because the officers cannot safely reach Muller, but they also cannot leave the scene unsecured. They take cover behind cruisers and nearby vehicles, trying to contain the threat while processing the fact that a wellness check has turned into a deadly shooting in a matter of seconds. And then, from inside the house, more shots ring out. Eventually, Belfoy comes to the realization that the people he shot were police officers. The moment is chilling because the violence has already happened, and whatever he believed in those first seconds, Sergeant Muller is still lying inside the home, critically wounded. In a sudden shift, Belfoy picks up the phone and calls 911, telling dispatchers that police had entered his house. But by then, the damage is irreversible.
There's a lot of things, unfortunately, broke into my house. I shot a police, unfortunately, in my house. 2390 Laval Street. Where am I? I'm inside the house.
Despite the efforts of responding officers and paramedics, Sergeant Eric Muller was pronounced dead. Constables Mark Lauzon and Francois Gamache-Asselin survived their injuries, but the shooting left them and the entire department permanently changed. In the trial that followed, Belfoy claimed he had mistaken the officers for intruders. Prosecutors argued something much darker, that he was angry, armed, and ready to kill when officers entered the home. On May 24, 2025, a jury found him guilty of first-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. He was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 25 years. What makes this case so disturbing is how divided the final moments feel. To the officers, this began as a call to check on someone who might have been hurt. To Belfoy, according to his defense, it began as a terrifying moment of confusion inside his own home. But whatever happened in those seconds, the result was the same. Sergeant Eric Muller never made it back out alive. He had entered the house to help a man he had never met, and within moments, he was shot multiple times on the floor of a home that was supposed to be the scene of a wellness check. The words Belfoy said afterward, standing over the fallen officer, would become one of the most haunting parts of the footage, because they may have been among the last words Sergeant Muller ever heard. That's all for today, folks. If you like to see more of this creepy content, click on the video on screen.